If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, 2025, plunges even further into the unraveling psyche of Linda, a frazzled psychotherapist whose life is collapsing in slow motion under the crushing weight of motherhood, isolation, and unspoken despair, beginning with the haunting nightly ritual of feeding her daughter through a medical tube, a process she performs with robotic precision, her hands steady even as her thoughts spiral into panic, while her husband Charles remains a distant, disembodied voice on the phone, criticizing her decisions, questioning her judgment, and treating her exhaustion as an inconvenience rather than a cry for help. Their Montauk home, once a refuge overlooking the ocean, becomes a symbol of Linda's internal rot when the ceiling gives way, breaking open into a gaping wound that leaks brown water and plaster dust, sending Linda and her daughter into a cheap motel that smells of mildew and old cigarettes, a place where the walls feel too thin and the air too heavy. She drags her therapy practice with her like luggage she can't set down, continuing virtual and in-person sessions with clients who mirror her own anxieties, but whom she forces herself to help, even when she can barely steady her own breathing. Caroline, the overwhelmed new mother who abandons her baby during a session, becomes a devastating reflection of Linda's greatest fear, that she too might break so violently that she could become unrecognizable to herself. And Linda carries that abandoned infant in her arms with a mixture of anger and aching empathy, unable to tell where the mother ends and the patient begins. Her meetings with her therapist, played with cold detachment by Conan O'Brien, are framed with a quiet cruelty. Linda spills her heart while lying on his couch, trembling and admitting she feels she is disappearing, and he responds not with compassion, but clinical distance, offering empty reassurances that clang against the walls of her crumbling emotional world. Her reality is steadily invaded by intrusive sensory distortions. The sound of dripping water morphs into something rhythmic and menacing. The motel's buzzing lights flicker like a heartbeat trying to steady itself, and the hole in her former home's ceiling becomes a surreal, recurring image in her mind, an opening she stares into, imagining it swallowing her whole, imagining herself crawling up through it like a second birth that never arrives. Her coping mechanisms turn self-destructive. She drinks wine in the motel bathroom with the shower running to drown out her tears. She snorts cocaine in a moment of reckless grasping for control. She floats face down in the ocean with a strange longing to disappear. And she even removes her daughter's feeding tube as if testing what would happen if she simply stopped being the caretaker everyone depends on. Amid this chaos, the motel handyman James, played with gentle warmth by A$AP Rocky, becomes the only person who speaks to her with sincerity. A man who fixes broken things for a living, but whose kindness is something Linda can barely accept. Their connection flickers between grounding and dangerous because when he looks at her with concern, Linda feels both seen and exposed. As the days blur together, the film's editing becomes increasingly jagged, reflecting Linda's eroding sense of linear time. Nights shorten, days stretch, and the constant hum of her daughter's feeding pump becomes a soundtrack of responsibilities she can never escape. Her child remains unseen until the film's final third, a deliberate choice that turns the daughter into a symbol of Linda's fear, guilt, and love, rather than a fully present character. And when she finally appears on screen, it is during a deeply raw moment when Linda awakes on the motel bed, drenched from the ocean, still wearing her bathing suit, her daughter silently watching her with a mixture of confusion and worry. That look breaks something open in Linda, prompting her whispered promise that she will get better, though the film makes no claim about whether she can. The final act leans into emotional ambiguity rather than resolution. Linda returns to the repaired Montauk apartment, its ceiling restored to a pristine flat surface, yet she stares upward as if waiting for it to crack open again, as if the stability she sees cannot be trusted. The soundtrack quiets until only her breathing remains, uneven and fragile, and the camera lingers on her face long enough to reveal exhaustion, love, shame, and a deep yearning for mercy, not from others, but from herself. Critics describe the film as a visceral portrait of burnout and maternal collapse rather than a traditional narrative, a story that forces viewers to sit inside Linda's unraveling mind without escape, while Rose Byrne delivers a performance so emotionally raw that many scenes feel almost invasive to watch. The ambiguity of the final moments, whether Linda is healing, breaking, or simply existing in the limbo between the two, makes the film linger long after the credits, leaving the audience with the unsettling sense that there is no clear cure for the kind of loneliness, resentment, and love that Linda carries, Only the quiet, ongoing decision to keep breathing in a world that constantly asks more of her than she has left to give.